Every year, nearly 20,000 Canadian drivers receive traffic tickets in New York State. Despite being issued in another country, a New York traffic ticket can have a serious impact on your Canadian license. Thankfully, the worst consequences can be avoided by hiring a New York traffic ticket attorney to fight the underlying charges. It's tempting for Canadian motorists to simply plead guilty and mail in their payment. It may seem impossible to fight a ticket while living outside the country where the hearing is to be held. But paying a New York traffic ticket without fighting is a big mistake, whether you're a resident of Ontario, Quebec, or Brooklyn, New York. Shared driver information. The US and Canadian legal systems are very different. However, the provinces of Ontario and Quebec have agreements in place to share driver information with New York State and vice versa. This shared information includes the name of the driver who was ticketed, where the ticket was issued, when the incident happened, and what the person was convicted of. Once this information is communicated, the respective motor vehicle authority will be able to assess points against your driving record. That means that you can't simply ignore a New York traffic ticket just because you live in Canada. Quebec and Ontario drivers with the New York tickets. When the SAC or Ontario Ministry of Transportation receives information about a New York traffic ticket, it treats the offense as though it happened in the province. For example, an Ontario driver who pays a speeding ticket for going 20 miles per hour over the limit, which is equivalent to 32 kilometers per hour, will end up with 4 points on their license. It's important to know that it only takes 15 demerit points on your license before you lose your driving privileges in Quebec or Ontario. In addition, because the offense will appear on your Canadian driving record, it almost certainly will increase your auto insurance rates. New York points still count against Canadians. Canadian drivers should also be aware that New York's point system, while different from Ontario and Quebec's, also counts against drivers. Each time a driver is convicted of a New York ticket, regardless of where they're from, the state keeps a record for that driver and assesses points using its own point system. At 6 points, a driver will be charged a driver responsibility assessment fee, which costs $300 plus $75 for each point over 6. And this is in addition to the fine for the ticket or tickets. Even worse, when a driver reaches 11 points worth of offenses, their right to drive in the state of New York will be suspended. Losing your driving privileges in New York. New York does not have the authority to suspend a license in Canada, but it can suspend your right to drive within the state of New York, regardless of where your license was issued. However, since Quebec and Ontario have reciprocity with New York, the suspension will still appear on your driving record and can affect your auto insurance rates. There are several ways a license can be suspended or revoked in New York. The first is if you accrue 11 points or more within 18 months based on the New York point system. A second way is if you fail to respond to or pay a New York traffic ticket. Third, you can have a driving privilege suspended if convicted of a serious driving offense, such as drunk driving or driving without auto insurance. Hiring a New York attorney. A Canadian driver may feel helpless to fight a New York traffic ticket. Not only is the legal system very complex, but it's far from convenient to cross an international border just to appear in court. If you are a Canadian who has been ticketed for a driving offense in New York, call Rosenblum Law today. You may not have to return to the state at all, because New York allows attorneys to appear in lieu of the driver. We can also fight to have the ticket dismissed or negotiate it down to a lesser offense with lesser penalties and less of a chance of it impacting your Canadian license.